Hello and welcome to this episode of Ground Breakers with CGTN. I'm Chunying in Shanghai. Today we're going to continue the focus on the 6th China's International Import Expo, which has attracted over 3,400 exhibitors from all across the globe. Well, so we're trying to understand what makes Chinese markets so attractive for foreign investors and foreign enterprises, and also why does Chinese market need the foreign capitals for its domestic economic growth, and also what are some of the opportunities for investment right here in the Chinese market. So for more discussions here, join me in the studio are our three distinguished guests, who are Mr. Julian Blissett, the GM China President.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And we also have Mr. Jacob Cook, the co-founder and CEO of WPIC Marketing and Technologies. And last but not least, we've got Mr. Marko Tismaki, I wish I had pronounced it right.
Perfectly.
Who is the commercial counselor of the Embassy of Finland in Beijing. Great to have you with us. Let me start by asking for the overall impression of this year's CIIE. Is this your first time being here? What are some of your expectations, and have you achieved them? Let's start with you.
So first of all, it's my third time being in CIIE. It's our company's 6th. We like the platform. We think it's a great way to showcase products and services and gauge the sort of temperature of the market. And we use this as a way to plan our future product strategies and our future go-to-market strategies. And so it's achieved all of those. And I would tell you very simply, I guess the single biggest proof point is we're that confident that we signed a contract yesterday to come here next year already. So that's the best proof point I can give.
You did sign a contract?
We signed a contract. We're coming here next year as well. So.
How many contracts?
We signed a contract to come to CIIE next year. So it tells you how important we think of the event.
And what about you?
Yeah, it's also our third time here. You know, for us and being focused on e-commerce, it's a very busy time of the year. So we've actually had a lot of our foreign executives come here. We've used it as an anchor as well for a lot of our brand partners to come into China post-COVID. So we've got about a dozen brand partners that are here now. It's their first time back since COVID restrictions have been lifted. So this is a really exciting time for us here as well. And we're also here to meet new partners and meet new brands too as well. And so far it's going quite well.
Well, Finnish companies have been attending this event ever since it was established, so since the 6th year in a row that we see Finnish companies joining. This is the third time that we brought the national pavilion into this exhibition and show. When we started asking our companies early this year of their interest, we were positively surprised that many expressed their willingness that we set up this national pavilion, which we then indeed did. So today we have about 18 Finnish companies at the national pavilion and additional Finnish companies presenting their own booth. So not only the companies have shown their interest, but also the Ministry of our Agriculture and Forest, Sari Essayah, is visiting. So yes, indeed, it is a very significant show for us.
It seems that all of you are more experienced than I am. Anyway, talking about GM's business with China, I understand that your company has announced more plans for expanding investment in China. An agreement was signed last year for an investment about $100 million for the so-called premium import business. So what are some of the factors that came into consideration while making that decision, and why are you so confident about the long-term prospect of Chinese market?
So I think I'll answer that on 3 levels really. The first level I would answer is the market itself is a great opportunity. It's the Chinese car market is the biggest car market in the world. It's on a fast pace to become the biggest luxury market in the world. So first of all, there's opportunity. Secondly, when we showcased our products in the CIIE in the past few years, we received overwhelmingly positive feedback, where people are just literally queuing up to buy our cars. So we use that as great input. And then the third point is we worked proactively with the Shanghai and the Pudong government to set up the business in Shanghai. We'd obviously had prior support in our two joint ventures in SGM and Paytac over many years in Shanghai. So it was a logical choice to set up our business in Shanghai. So we invested $100 million capital to set up the import business. So it's been an interesting ride, and it's a good time to invest.
And Shanghai is considered as a great example of China's reform and opening up. And talking about that, Mr. Jacob, I know that your company is also raising the bet on China and also in Shanghai, right? I know that you've opened your new offices in Shanghai and also new logistic facilities. Tell us the reason behind that, and what do you expect to achieve through the investment?
Yeah, overall, we're very bullish on China and the consumer in China. For us, China is also the largest e-commerce market in the world, which is obviously where we want to be centered. Shanghai office is now our 4th office in China, and the Weihai facility for logistics is our 3rd facility inside the market. We're probably also looking to expand some of the existing facilities next year in Nanjing and Hangzhou as well. So we're very bullish in investing into the market. Not only is it an e-commerce leader in China, but also we see so many of the effects of the changes in e-commerce really pouring over into other Asian markets. And the Weihai facility actually allows us to do a lot of the work that we do in Korea and Japan from China as well. So we're looking forward to take a lot of those learnings and bring them to other parts of Asia.
And Marco, when it comes to Finnish, the cooperation between Finnish business and Chinese business, I've seen many Finnish enterprises in this year's CIIE as well. And also, according to a survey, 72% of Finnish export companies believe that China will at least maintain its importance as a trade partner. So how do you interpret that? What makes Chinese market attractive to Finnish companies? Despite the continuing rhetoric of decoupling and de-risking?
Well, first of all, to the number, it says it's one of the surveys we are conducting on a regular basis for the market. So we are asking Finnish companies about several things. What are the expectations? And if you look at the past couple of years, like last year, the COVID year, it was most successful year for the trade between Finland and China. And I would say predominantly the vast majority of the Finnish companies who are operating in China actually made record results. So all in all, there is a strong confidence in the market, and why obviously this is a big market, one of the biggest in the world, if not the biggest in certain sectors. So obviously it continues to attract Finnish companies to come here. This year, of course, the economic situation has worsened to some extent. We see now that a little bit more bullish expectations on the market, but this is also reflecting how the global economy is developing to some extent. The last pulse survey we did was just out last week, which demonstrated that vast majority still considers positively about the outlook for China.
But what are some of the reasons behind that positive attitude?
Positive attitudes, if you look at the China growth levels, although they are not coming back to those levels they were before, you find certain industry sectors that are really fast growing still. For example, most probably common to your spectators would be the EV markets. China EV export grew by 50% in the Q3. So there are industry sectors that are growing very fast. And this is not only in China, this is actually a global phenomenon. Our job as a trade promotion organization is to identify those pockets of growth and promote them to Finland.
And we're talking about China's popularity in EV industry. Will your company take any plan to take advantage of that trend?
For sure. We are investing heavily in EVs. We've stated very clearly in our company vision, which is the 3 zeros, so it's basically zero congestion, zero emissions, and zero crashes. Part of that, of course, EV is one of the most important enablers. GM is committed to be carbon neutral by 2040, and we've committed to have zero emissions at the tailpipe globally by 2035. So that gives you an indication of our commitment long term. And to do that, of course, we're investing very heavily in EVs and to a certain extent in AVs as well. So we committed in 2021 to invest $35 billion between 21 and 25 into basically electric and autonomous technology. That is the vast majority of our engineering and our capital resources, so it gives you an indication of what the future entails. And if you look at CIIE, we have 3 of our EVs on stand that you can see. So you'll see more and more EVs, and our volume is growing, so it's a very exciting time in the market.
What do you make of the market potential in China, particularly in this sector?
Well, first of all, China, as I said, is the biggest car market. It is also globally. It is also the biggest EV market. And I would also argue that the speed of transition from ICE to EV is gaining speed in China far faster than Europe or the US. And so I think the China war has become the epicenter of the pivot to EV. And when I say EV, I mean EV and plug-in hybrid. So for sure, this is the epicenter globally. There's no question.
And talking about the cooperation, the business cooperation between other overseas countries and China, it's important to keep the business environment, the domestic business environment, in focus. And that's exactly what the Chinese government has always been stressing. So I'm wondering, what are some of the progress or the changes that you have observed when it comes to the business environment in China, especially for foreign enterprises?
I would say this. I mean, first of all, this is not a new thing. The government policy over the past, certainly my 17 years in China, has been very proactive and very business friendly. As I indicated earlier, the Shanghai government has been, we've had a very good working relationship, both with the Shanghai government and the Pudong government, and our confidence in those policies and the opening up, and particularly the support we get on imports for our import business, this gave us the confidence to continue to invest. And I think the $100 million that we invested last year is probably the best proof point of how confident we are in both the policy structure and, of course, the market opportunity.
If that's convincing enough. And what about you?
Same thing. I think if you look at where we're centered really in Zhejiang and Jiangsu provinces, the governments in both of those places have been incredibly supportive to us. You know, you wouldn't really, it's unreflective, I think, of what you've heard in other media sources in terms of negativity, but both through COVID, through just really being there for every step of the business. Yeah, it's been very, very comfortable to do business there, and it makes us feel secure in those investments as well. The provincial governments on both of those, I highly recommend those locations if you're thinking of where you want to be setting up shop in China.
And what about Marco? How would you assess or evaluate the business environment for Finnish enterprises?
There's a lot of what the gentleman already commented resonates very well what we are seeing for the Finnish companies here. Obviously, there is a difference between the perception that is built up over the past couple of years in Finland and in China, which is a natural, I guess, considering the long COVID time that traveling was not possible, meeting was not possible, and that's what just happens. And that's why, for instance, I think it's very important that we have platforms like this CIIE, which is promoting people meeting again, discussing about the business. Seeing is believing, as we know. And that's why I believe it's very important that China is now re-engaging, and vice versa.
And it seems that China is still making continuing efforts in this sector. Earlier, China issued a plan earlier this year on how to attract even more foreign investment. And that plan is thought to be more concrete and more comprehensive. For instance, there's much more clarity on how the central authority wants the relevant policies to carry it out on a local level. Policies include, you know, strengthening foreign investment protection, increasing the physical and taxation support. So what are your thoughts on this plan? How effective do you expect these plans to be?
Well, taxation policies are always a good thing. So I think they're obviously encouraged, but it creates the right business environment and it's conducive to investment. Of course, investment is good for the economy, it's good for competition, and in the end, it's good for the consumer. So for me, it's a good thing all around.
Yeah, I'd agree with that entirely. You know, especially we've seen so much action by local governments already along these lines that, you know, to even get more support, it provides further confidence for the business community to continue to invest.
I agree. It's a positive start. We actually asked this very specific question in our last pulse survey to Finnish companies who are operating in China. 40% of them perceive this to be a positive, clearly. But about 50% said a little bit like remains to be seen. They wait and see. So I guess the overall sentiment is certainly positive, but there's more to be done.
Yeah, talking about more to be done, let's delve deeper into this topic. Of course, there are some challenges ahead for foreign enterprise to better fit into the Chinese market. So what are some of the problems or challenges that you would like to overcome, and what are some of the support would you like to receive from the government?
I would say this. I think the biggest challenge in our industry is speed. Speed.
The production
market.
Speed?
No. The production is not a problem. The consumer trends and the speed of change and the speed of technology adoption is creating the necessity to revolutionize the way we bring technology and products to market. So that is the biggest challenge we have. It's a nice problem to have because it means there's demand for products, and obviously there's, and it's an exciting time. And of course, any time that there is new technology and new product, it creates opportunity. So I would say that these are good challenges to have. And so I would say government policy around supporting EV adoption, supporting charging infrastructure, etc. These are the key enablers that are both positive from a consumer sentiment point of view and obviously conducive from a business environment point of view.
Yeah, for our business, one of the main things that we operate in is the domestic free trade zone warehouses. And, those implementations, in some cases, the provinces have rolled them out quite fast. In some, they've been lagging behind. And a little bit more uniformity in terms of the regulations across those bonded warehouses would be nice. But in terms of the speed of China, yeah, that's incredible. We see, a lot of our brands now spending more and more time here to understand that and even teach their executives about that as well.
Yeah, I would continue what Jake just finished there, is understanding that's key now. It's quite clear that, and it's made very, very clear by the Chinese leadership, that the change of direction in terms of growth is going to a new direction. And when we talk to Finnish companies, I would say it's fair to say that not everybody is quite clear on what that means in practice. We have positive signals happening in this country with the statement starting in July, but I think there's more dialogue, more information sharing needed before the companies really understand where the real opportunities are.
Exactly. Earlier we've talked so much about the positive or some challenges or how to make Chinese market more attractive to foreign enterprises. But on the other hand, what can China gain from the investment, the foreign capital? Why do we need foreign investors from your point of view?
I would argue two arguments. I think the first one, FDI is always good for the economy, no question, right? It's a key government KPI, it's good for the economy. I think the second thing is it gives opportunity to bring different brands, different technologies, different products. This creates competition, where we believe competition is good. It makes us all better. It's a challenge, of course, but it makes us better. And more importantly, it provides choice to the consumer. So I think from all three angles, this is a good thing.
And talking about competition in the automobile industry or even the new energy vehicle industry, we're witness a very rapid development of domestic NEV over the recent years. And how would you see that? What's your take on that?
So my take on that is, first of all, if you look at the competition landscape in the car industry, has changed like no other period in the history of the car industry. So if you asked me 10 years ago who my competitors were versus today who my competitors were, half of them have changed. And so the competitors for GM come in the form of traditional car companies. They come in the form both global and domestic. They come in the form of internet companies. They come in the form of new energy startups. So it's a much more fragmented and diverse thing. But I think that's good for the industry and it's good for the consumer. So
you see competition as a good thing?
For me, competition is a good thing.
And what about you?
Absolutely it is. And for us, where we see this too is we see a lot of more integration now with trends. If we go back to the formation of, e-commerce and that sort of business, a lot of trends were coming into China, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And now we really see the export of that. So the brands here have really, and the companies really here have learned from international markets. They're tied closer to international markets. And I think that they operate better because of the FDI that comes into China.
And what about you? What do you think that has the Finnish enterprises bring to China?
Well, there's an element about Finnish enterprises can bring to China, and I think it resonates very well with the colleagues have already here mentioned, but there's also the other angle here, which has not been discussed much, which is about Chinese companies becoming more international, like referred here. And this means that also new opportunities for Chinese companies from collaboration will come from increasing our discussions. And we see that Finland is one of those key sites that Chinese companies will increasingly look at their location to European markets. That is an angle that I will also hope bring to this discussion.
Yeah.
And looking ahead now, how do you see the future perspective of China's economic outlook? Well, that's a general question, but it's quite relevant to all of your guys' business, I think.
I think, first of all, if you take a long-term or a medium-term perspective, the economic fundamentals of this country are very sound. There is clearly going to be economic growth. I think, as Marco said, I think the days of very high single-digit GDP growth are behind us. Having said that, 5.5%, 4.5% growth is still very attractive as a country, number one. Number two, you still have, as part of that, you have an increasing size of middle class and you have the trend of consumption upgrade. This, in our industry, provides significant opportunity both to new customers and to sell, obviously, to upgrade customers to bigger and more expensive cars. So again, both are very clear opportunities for us. So fundamentally, the economy looks good long term.
Yeah, we're very bullish on the consumer in China, and that's reflective in the investments that we've made into the market, but it's a changing consumer too as well, and the brands that understand that are going to do very well. We're expecting e-commerce growth, still to be in the low double digits going forward for the foreseeable future. But it's a consumer that cares more about health and wellness. They're taking care of themselves. They're more experiential based now. And the brands that are understanding this, and I think, we talk about Finland or Canada or even the US and England and some of these other countries, well, we actually produce products that match very well with these new consumption trends in China as well. So I think, we see imports rising still, I think from Canada up almost 20% this year. This is a good positive trend that we expect to carry on, for as far as we can really see.
There's nothing more I can say than agree what's just said here. If you go visit, for instance, our national booth, you see that there are new innovative food products that are mostly displayed there, so we fully see the same trends as referred to.
You just talk about health, yes, wellness. What are some of the other sectors that you see for opportunities of investment in Chinese market?
I can only talk about the automotive industry.
Oh,
but
yeah.
automotive for sure is strong.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the transition that is taking place in China, targeting this 2030, 2060 is already well on the way. The biggest area we see for new investments are obviously in the green transition, in the energy transition. But there are also then the upcoming trends that are very relevant that actually will become more and more getting attraction, and those are related to the circular economy, new bio-based materials, and also the digital health technologies, and those are at the moment also growing in our estimations very fast.
And now let's get back to the CIIE itself. What are some of the things that impress you the most at this year's CIIE? Is there a specific point or any?
Breadth and depth and diversity. It's enormous.
It's enormous.
The breadth of products and services is amazing.
It's massive. I've gotten through about a half of it so far, and I'll hopefully finish it in the next couple of days. But I haven't seen any unused space at all right now. We should probably also renew our booth for next year too. I think that's probably a pretty good idea. I think, though, that there is just really every country is represented, and the whole world is really coming together for what is the largest, trade show ever, and it just keeps growing every year. I think that, probably a lot of people weren't able to make it this year. From what we understood, I think next year is going to be even bigger than it was this year.
What makes this year's event special from the previous ones?
People can get here.
Just the words right out of my mouth. The last 2 years has been difficult, obviously,
yes.
from the impacts of COVID and the lockdowns and stuff like that. So having free access for consumers,
Yes.
for trade representatives, that's the biggest
No
difference.
tested at all.
No. And there's people. You look on the stands. There's lots of people, and that's what we need.
Huge crowds.
So,
Yeah. Well, what about, is this, how many times have you been?
This is my second time.
Second time.
First time I came here last year, the second time, so I'm still digesting what I'm seeing here. So
Will
please
there
don't
be-
ask me that question now.
Will there be another time?
Next year.
Will there be another next time?
I certainly hope so.
Hope to see you next year. All right, well, that will do it for this edition of Ground Breakers, and hope to see you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
Good job. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.